This is an article written by Dr. Henry Abramson. This was published in 2018. So when people tell you this, the article's called "When Jews Were Illegal, They Took Away Our Children." When people tell you that there is no evidence of Jews being in West Africa prior to during the slave trade, that's just not true. Dr. Henry Abramson acknowledges this right here in this article. And you can use this to show that they're lying, because see, if they want to call you a liar, they also have to call Dr. Henry Abramson a liar, and he is a well-known Jew. So they would have to call this Jew, this Jew with a degree, Dr. Henry Abramson. They would have to tell him he's lying, he doesn't know about Jewish history. They're not going to do that. So let's come back down to hear what he writes. 2,000 Jewish children aged 2 to 12 were forcibly separated from their parents in a chilling act of incomprehensible cruelty. Zhao, or John II, right here, shipped them off to the uninhabited equatorial island of South.
All right, grace and peace. What's good with you, Russell? Man, stuff is it's rough out here. Now we ended off. I don't. It's not the keyboard. It's the mouse part. Nothing even fell on the keys. It's that mouse part you touch on the MacBook. We ended off with Most Excellent saying, because Jews are in Africa, don't mean that West African are Jews. Alton said, that's not the problem with people coming over here practicing jewelry. Alton said, that's not the problem. They're trying to make everybody that came over here Israelites practicing. In the email I got, the sister said the majority, not the minority, that came over here, because we started arguing that. Keys was like, in the beginning, that's what Keys always used to say, oh, well, in the beginning, nobody was Jewish coming from West Africa. So we're right here. Let me see how far this thing will play. Fair use.
Sao Tome off the coast of West Africa and abandoned them on shore. Later, Portuguese expeditions would reveal that only some 600 survived. Many, according to the 16th century historian Samuel Uske, were eaten by the huge lizards indigenous to the island. Shout out to the people that said Komodo dragon. I thought it was alligators or possibly crocodiles. Some people said it was Komodo dragons. All right. So now you see that Dr. Henry Abramson says that these Jews, these children, were deported to Sao Tome, and 600 of them survived. So this is important because this is all happening in the late 1400s, coming into the 15th century. I'm sorry, the 15th century coming into the 16th century. This is when all this is happening. So now we're going to look at this section or these claims right here, and we're going to look at these areas, not this section, but this section of text. We're going to focus on the areas mentioned in it. Hopefully that makes more sense. So Dr. Henry Abramson makes it clear that these were Jews sent in to Sao Tome, West Africa. But who were they? Who was it that got put into Sao Tome, West Africa? Now, if we look, Sao Tome is here. Sao Tome and Principe. Right here, this is Africa. This here is the Iberian Peninsula, which is going to consist of Spain and Portugal. So they were moved from here all the way down here to the island of Sao Tome. Now, I pointed this out before on Dr. Henry Abramson's map right here. This is the Iberian Peninsula. This is going to be where they come from. And as you saw him reference, they went to Africa. And I pointed out there's no arrow showing that they went down here. The arrows point to everywhere else, but they do not point to West Africa for whatever reason. But we have his writing to confirm that they did go into West Africa. So they ended up from here all the way around here, over into here. Now, this background is more important for the new people. Some of you guys who have been subscribed for a while, you already know this. This is really to make sure the new people can keep up with what I'm about to say. So we have a professor, a doctor, a Jew who wrote about history, Jewish history, and he tells us very clearly that they were put into West Africa. I'm stressing that for a reason, because you're going to run into deceivers that tell you that there were no Jews, or these Jews were converted that were in West Africa. But that is not what the history books are going to say. So now, if we come over here to the History of the Jews by Hannah Adams, she is a white European woman. And this book was, I believe, written in 1818 or published in 1840. Here we go. Oh, no, this was sold in 1840, I believe. Let me see. I believe it was published in 1818, but it says it was sold in 1840. But yeah, we're not gonna look for the date. You guys can go through here and find all the dates and stuff. But you see where the original comes from, Harvard College Library. So the original is going to be sold in 1840. But Hannah Adams wrote about the history of the Jews from the destruction of Jerusalem to the present time. That was her time. So now I'm going to read from page 367. We're going to read down here. Some of you guys have heard this before. For the new people, it will be very important. And we're going to read down to here, and then I will go back up and I'm going to read the notes section right here. So page 367 through 368. Both pages. Now pay attention, listen carefully if you've not heard this before, because as we go through this, I'm going to point out some deceptive stuff that people have said. Now, for those who are not aware, the Spanish Inquisition directly overlaps the transatlantic slave trade. So when you have the Alhambra decree to kick all the Jews out of Spain, they run into Portugal. It is the Portuguese that start enslaving the black or the Negro Portuguese. They enslave them, and then they take away the kids and they put them in West Africa. So slavery starts during the Inquisition and is going to spill over into West Africa where the Portuguese are. And all those Jews, those Spanish and Sephardic Jews that get kicked out, they're going to start to enslave those same people in West Africa and then move them to the Americas. If you have not watched my previous video about the elephant in the room, go check that out. It's about Black Jews, the elephant in the room. Check it out. All right. So even as late as the close of the 18th century, so the close of the 1700s, any person believed to be a Jew, whether he had previously appeared as a Catholic or not, would still be seized in Spain if discovered by the Inquisition. The following is an extract from a decree of the Spanish government promulgated against the Jews July 22nd, 1800. So this section right here claims to be a primary source. It's extracted directly from a decree. So that would make this portion of the text a primary source. His Majesty ordered his ministers to deliver no passports to the Jews intending to enter Spain, whatever might be the motive of their journey, and whether they be desirous or not of making any stay in the kingdom. He enjoined the governors of the frontiers to prevent their entrance into the Spanish territories and to expel all who may be discovered in it. For a long time, the laws of this monarchy have forbidden all Jews to attempt a transit or an establishment in the dominions of His Majesty. A late transgression calls for a rigorous reinforcement of these laws. End quote. So that claims to be a primary source directly from a decree. It says the Spanish and Portuguese Jews, pay close attention to this, the Spanish and Portuguese Jews claim their descent from the tribe of Judah. Very important identification. They claimed their descent from the tribe of Judah and found these pretensions on a supposition which prevails among them that many of their ancestors removed or were sent into Spain at the time of the Babylonian captivity. Now, I've talked about this before. Around 586 BC, Nebuchadnezzar sent Israelites into Spain. So they've been there since about 580, in the 580s BC, it is believed. So they've been there for a very long time, and it happened around the time of the Babylonian captivity. Go watch my Khazar video where I connect a whole bunch of this stuff together, the Khazar series. All right, let's continue. In consequence of this supposed superiority, they, till very lately, would not by marriage or otherwise incorporate with their brethren of other nations. I covered this in the Myth of the Mixed Multitude section. Go watch that video, The Myth of the Mixed Multitude. We see over and over again that these Portuguese Jews, who are going to be described as Black, Negro Portuguese, Tawny, they did not mix with the white Jews. We also see in Cochin, India, that is the case as well. The Black Jews of the ancient Jews, which is what Claudius Buchanan calls them, would not mix with the Jerusalem Jews or the white Jews. We also saw that the Sun Black tribe of Manasseh would mix with the Black Khazars, but they would not mix with the white Khazars. We see in the Bible that the Israelites mix with Hamites, but they will not or do not mix with Japheth in the biblical text. We see a historical consistency here. So it says they had separate synagogues, segregation. And if a Portuguese Jew, even in England or Holland, so we know they were around other places, married a German Jewess, he was immediately expelled from the synagogue, deprived of every civil and ecclesiastical right, and ejected from the body of the nation. Now, why would they do that? For mixing with another Jew. If Jews come in all colors, as people say, Jews are everybody, they look like everybody, come in all colors. Why won't the Black Jews mix with the white Jews? Something is going on there. And I just want to point that out for your consideration. Something is going on there. If you find this consistency in Spain, you find it in Cochin, India, you find it in the Bible, and you find it among the Khazars in the Caucasus Mountains. A late instance has occurred of a Jew in Berlin who where's Berlin? Germany? Ashkenaz? Anyway, who having married a daughter of a Portuguese physician, the parents of the girl went into mourning as for the death of a relation. The manners of the Portuguese Jews differ from the rest of the nation and are more polished. They have nothing peculiar in their dress. The opulent among them vie with the other nations of Europe in refinement, elegance, and show, and differ from them in worship only. In Portugal, the name of a Jew is a term of such high reproach that the government found it necessary to enact a law which forbade any person to call another by that appellation. So even during the Inquisition, you couldn't even call somebody a Jew because it was outlawed. Now, if a man who is styled a Jew to his face stabs the offender, the law does not condemn him. And trifling as this regulation may appear, it has produced beneficial effects. So if you're accused of being a Jew, it was so offensive that you could legally stab somebody in the face for accusing you of being a Jew, and you would not be held guilty. So let's go back up here to the notes. Now remember, they claim their descent